That was all right. All right. Or not, than we usually do. Good evening and welcome to the committee, the whole development committee development meeting. Today is Monday, May 2nd, and we're assembled here at the Spencerville Town Hall. We have a big crowd here today, so I might as well introduce right away. We have a delegation that we're going to be talking to from the high school. Awesome to see you guys are going to come up and talk to us. And we also have a lot of other people in attendance as well, so it's just good to see such a nice crowd here today. One thing I am going to mention, we're not planning on doing it this way right now, but this is the first meeting where we actually have an Indigenous land acknowledgement as well. So I'm going to read it out for this one in the meeting because it's the first time that it's here. And then going forward, we'll be reading them out at council meetings, but it'll be on every agenda going forward. The township of Edwardsburg Cardinal is situated on traditional territory of Indigenous peoples, dating back countless generations, which is rich in history and home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people today. As a township, we have the responsibility for the stewardship of the lands on which we live, work, and play. And today, this meeting place is still home to the Indigenous people, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work and call this land our own. All right, so now that we've had that conversation, nice. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and we're going to seek approval of the agenda now. So I need a mover of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Martel and seconded by Councillor Smale. All right, anybody have any changes that need to be made to the agenda? Hearing none. All right, I'm going to vote on the agenda then. So all in favor? Aye. All right, unanimous. All right, so moving on to number 3, disclosure of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest or the general nature thereof. Does anybody have interest?
None by me, none by me.
I don't have a pecuniary, I do have a perceived conflict of interest on item 6E, so doing the paperwork and I will remove myself from the conversation.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. All right, so then moving on to number 4, business arising from previous committee meeting minutes, if any. Does anybody have anything from our last council meeting? We also talked about the one we also had the special council meeting for the public meeting. That's on the agenda as well, or is that something that's not part of the discussion? I know it was in the agenda. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you. All right, anybody have anything? Okay, great. All right, then moving on to 5, which is delegations and presentations. So as we said, we have United Counties District School Board Partnership discussion with Angela Hunter, but also several of our youth as well. So we usually just stand at the podium and discuss. So yeah, smile, guys.
We'll have them start.
Okay, we
Sure.
that way, sure.
These gentlemen are from East grade 10 history class.
You got it. So you guys want me to introduce yourselves and tell them what it is that you're building? Sure. I'm there and we're building a bench. Where's the bench gonna go? Down by like the Conestoga ship.
Oh, great.
That's awesome.
I'm Adam. I'm helping him build the bench. Say really?
No, that's okay. You guys are great, honestly. So you're building a bench at school? Yep. Excellent, excellent. And there's going to go down by the Conestoga, just in case people didn't hear, it's going to go down by the Conestoga site, where we're planning on putting it. That's great. Yeah, yeah. And okay, excellent. Anything else?
So I guess just to give some context to it. So a few months ago, our class was approached to look at the Cardinal waterfronts and see what we could do to perhaps revitalize it with a historical twist to it. So we took the whole class on a trip down to Cardinal, starting at the Ingredient Center and kind of working our way down to the Conestoga and back to the Circle K, which was also a popular destination, back to the Ingredient Center. But after our tour, we asked, the kids, what do you think needs to be done here? And I think the site of the sunken Conestoga captivated some of the kids. And so one aspect of honoring that historic site was building a bench. So there are going to be some dates carved into it that will say when it went into service and when it sunk, and that will sit there. That is one aspect, and Adam and Eric have been working very hard at doing that, very, very hard. The thing was practically built before I even realized that they had even started, so they did a tremendous job. They're also using some software to design it as well. What's the software that you were using? Not yesterday, but it's Friday, Thursday to,
It's called Beaker Pro,
okay.
I think. Yes. Beaker Pro.
And so that has enabled the boys to create some designs for the name of the ship, the dates, and then that spits it out to the CNC machine.
Yep.
And that will enable them to finish the bench. Now, I'm also going to invite another young man up here who is, so they built the bench. So we have, what's your name, son?
Jack Beckham.
We got Jack Bickham here that so he became captivated with, who did you become captivated with?
Rusty
I'll
Trail.
let you tell, it's your project.
He was born in Cardinal. And he played in the NHL. I was bringing more recognition to him.
And when Jack was looking him up, he was captivated because, you know, he had heard of, you know, Todd Gill, Leo Boyven, but this was an individual that's, you know, he wasn't the most prominent, so he would like to honor him and bring some recognition to his contribution to hockey. And so he's currently researching his career. And following him where he ended up Western Canada, right?
Yeah.
Or Central Canada, Saskatchewan. So what we hope to accomplish is some of his pictures and some of his accomplishments will be displayed on one of the TVs in the Ingredient Center. Now, what else we hope to deliver is we've got a group also drawing a picture of the Conestoga, what it would have looked like when it is in service. Though that group couldn't be here tonight, but I should have grabbed the work in progress while, but I suppose art can't be rushed. But it'll also be ready by June, and it could be displayed next to the Conestoga as well. So as well, we were kind of saying whenever I came in the auditorium there, this isn't necessarily the end of the project, but the beginning. The end of you guys, it might be the end of you guys. But, oh, thank God. But next year, we hope to grow this project, perhaps bring more of it to the old Cardinal swing bridge. And perhaps bringing, seeing what we could do to honor the history here in Spencerville as well. You know, one idea that has come up is William Dunlop, who fought at the Battle of Hill 70. His name is on the cenotaph out front of this building. If we can honor him perhaps next year, that would also be fantastic. But I guess that's all that I've got to say. Maybe Angela, you want to talk about the RWL program?
Did you want to show some of the pictures?
Oh, yes, yeah,
Slides.
yeah. We have the slides show here that I guess I probably should have started with, but rather than the edge of battle here, I will show you some of the pictures of what it is we've been doing. So we went down to Cardinal, saw the Conestoga, and you can see it there, you recognize it there. And to get an idea of some of the Cardinal history, we went down to the Grenville County Historic Society, make sure your name right here, just down in Prescott, which is a 20 minutes walk from our school. And we also got to see some World War I stuff as well. We saw some World War I stuff, didn't we? down there, and, oh, what else did we see? A few things, a few old Prescott journals, and we had to cut our time short there in order to walk back, but it was, I think, good for everyone around. And finally, you can see there, it's fortunately the smallest picture on there, but that is the bench that you guys will be getting. That's as I understand, will be nearing completion very soon. And any questions?
Question. Now, did you want to finish off here first, or we want to come back?
Sure, I
Questions
can
on-
kind of talk about how it came to be.
Sure.
So real world learning is an initiative that started, I guess, about a year, 2 years ago in our board. And basically what we were seeing is that kids need to be connected to what they're doing for the engagement. It has to mean something to them. And, you know, sitting in a classroom and, you know, the ministry saying this is what they have to learn, that's fine. There is legitimate reasons for that. But how can we make that learning engaging for them? So a lot of the things that they're doing, they're covering the curriculum expectations. They're learning literacy, they're learning technology, they're doing math. They are looking at what we call the transferable skills. In talking to employers nowadays, that's what kids are missing, right? They can regurgitate information, but those skills, how do they communicate? Can they problem solve? Can they show initiative? Can they plan? Can they be independent? So all of those skills, these students are practicing right now without even knowing. We're kind of tricky. But it's becoming, so if I ask you today, what would you rather do? Do this, or sit and read a textbook and answer questions? Even teachers, we would rather do this. So we just actually had a lot of PD the last 2 days of groups sharing this, what they're doing across our board, and it's phenomenal what kids are coming up with. And imagine, like, they came up with this in the space of a month. Imagine if they had all year to come up with these ideas. And the big thing about real world learning is that we need partnerships. And they're learning at a younger age, because some of this is happening in kindergarten, grade 1. They're learning that making connections with their community is of utmost importance. And that's going to serve them so well later on. And then they're going to become those community members that give back, because they're going to see how it affected them. And I'm pretty sure I'd put money, you know, 10 years from now, you come back and you ask the students from, what do you, they're probably going to say Circle K. But it's gonna, after that, it's gonna come back to why were we there again? Oh, we did this, this, and this. And this bench is the start of them leaving their mark, right, in our township. And so getting them to honor that, and with that real world learning, that, like I said, community connections is the one of the 3 pillars of this being successful. Community partners, starting with meaning, so that trip to Cardinal where they saw, what is it that we need to do? Why are we connecting? That was the other pillar. The 3rd pillar is what product do we come out of this with? And it can be as something tangible like a bench, but the other products that they're gonna have is more the confidence, the connections, the transferable skills that they've learned, the technology that they're getting to learn. And you're gonna learn some more other tech later. You can add them. So all of those skills are invaluable to these students. They're gonna have a leg up on other kids when it comes time for jobs, and learning how to work with each other and making the connections. So Rick is a parent, but also one of the teachers that's helping to support this at school as well. And what ends up happening in the schools is what we hope is going to happen in the community. In the school, teachers start talking. You got your kids to do that? That's amazing. And they're coming every day. They're not missing class. They want to be there. Then it starts to snowball. Before we were having pizza, Rick and I were talking about this and how they're like, oh, and you're going to have that community built that way, but also within our communities. Because I'm pretty sure, Mr. Mayor, if you go to another meeting with a bunch of other mayors and councilors and you talk about what's happening here, they're gonna be like, wait,
Snowball.
why can't we do that? And you can, and there are other townships that are doing that. And I think with these students, This is where they live, this is where they grow up, right? Their parents have history here. And I think having that connection is going to serve everybody well. And I can tell you, when I posted on the Real World Learning site about the project, there were instantly comments from people in our township saying, this is great. So glad that our kids are learning about their heritage and learning about it, because how did we always learn it? Word of mouth, right? Our parents told us, our grandparents told us. But our community is growing, and we have people coming in who won't know that history. So how do we keep that? And Mr. East is a passionate historian, so it's great that he's being able to transfer that, and that's what my job is. I have the greatest job, because I go around helping make these connections, and they happen in the weirdest times and places, Mr. Mayor. And so, but you talk and you make those connections, and I get to do that and help facilitate and watch these kids grow and learn and take pride in their workmanship.
Project, like the act of building a bench, transforming that to the history classroom, that's kind of the vehicle towards learning about the history. So yes, you build a bench, yes, you learn the technical skills around that, but you also learn the history as well. And that is something you guys are probably know more about it than many of the kids in our school. Will make that guess just by the act of building the bench. So that has been fantastic, and thank you to you guys for bringing this opportunity to us. It's kind of funny at the PD that we were just at. Lots of other teachers across Eastern Ontario, and relationships with municipality for some reason don't come as easy. I'm not sure why. I don't know. I won't speculate, but this one fell into our lap, and we're very grateful for that. So thank you very much.
And there's lots to come, as we've said.
This is the beginning, not the end.
In my role, we've made a commitment to keep this going. And as long as the kids are interested and we have a teacher who's willing to help, then my role is to keep facilitating that and seeing other projects come. And I know there's a local school close by that has already started. We've talked about what could be some things. And I think one of the greatest opportunities these students had was coming and presenting to you here and also previously, when they had to say, for design, this is our idea. Okay, to be told no, how do we fix it? How do we make it better? And so that was really great. So I think this is going to grow. In our board right now, we had 180 slides of projects going on in our board right now, and that's not all of them. And right now, Upper Canada District School Board, which encompasses this township and many others, is at the top right now.
Thank you.
So thank you for giving us that opportunity and for allowing these kids to show you what they can do.
I'm going to guess just an interesting thought. Thank you. You guys did a fabulous job. It's good to see such passion, initiative, the things you guys are doing is, and it's maybe a small step, but who knows that you're building, the bench itself could be history down the road that we talk about, or that somebody down the road talks about you guys at some point as well, which is great. We love the initiative, by the way. I think I speak for all of council when we say, our door is open, come out more often for sure. We'll always make a space for you to talk, and we really appreciate that. So on that note, I'm gonna turn over to my colleagues here and see if anybody has anything they want to talk to or say.
Want to go?
I'd just like to thank the mayor. I know like Spencer, Dave Grant, there's been a lot of hands on this, and it's just a phenomenal project. How big is the student workforce?
How many we can buy?
I told you.
No, I think that, I can't speak for these guys, but I'm getting as much out of this as anybody is. Phenomenal. Thanks all around.
Just so you guys know, the school is we have a welding shop and woodworking shop. Shop, so we can.
Oh, don't say that. Deputy Mayor's going back to school?
So we can, big or small, we can help out and that's what you guys think. For example, right now, we're looking at helping the town of Prescott out with the rink, doing some shelving over to the change room. Give them somewhere to put some stuff.
Oh.
So we're just looking at that right now. I'm just trying to get a price together. Just material wise, we don't charge labor, kids do it. So we are open if you need help.
And there are other, just so you know, all of these, there are other projects going on at, so for example, this is one,
Actually.
many that are going on.
There, the art class is doing murals for the rank,
They're also doing a thing with Wellington School.
Yeah.
They're developing literacy skills with monsters and the visual arts class are making monsters and stuff, so you name it, what these guys can think up of, we can all happen. In the school, but there's a lot of things with the technology that's coming out and the support. We have a digital learning team with our board that comes out to support and train a lot on the digital things going on. Vinyl cutters, laser printers, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of what they can think up of, we try and make happen.
we have 3D printers, we have, so all that stuff. I'm doing a real world learning project. It's not my project, it's me, it's kindergarten class. And I'm doing blocks for literacy. So they're shapes and they build letters out of the shapes. So.
Dr. Smith, do you have anything?
I think it's fantastic. I mean, to get teenagers' attention and then actually listen to what they want to do, it's just, that blows me away because when we went to school, you were just there to sit, listen, or like they didn't care really. I mean, it's fantastic to see these guys come out here, especially teenage boys. I mean, you know, I coached soccer for a few years. They're hard to get to know, but once you get to know them, and I think it's fantastic.
Principal's on.
It's great for Cardinal right now, what they're doing. I can't recommend you enough. Good job. Thanks for coming too, guys.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, how are you?
Yeah, I just, I think it's great, but the biggest thing that catches me is it's the beginning and not the end. I'm really, really excited about that because as you said, that people are coming into our community that are new. They're moving from Oshawa, they're moving from Ottawa. They don't know our community. And so with people here who's been around, their parents and grandparents, it's just a, you know, a book of knowledge. And to continue to work with us as our township, that's what we want. What a place to come and live, work and play. And when we have you three, for an example, on board to help us, I mean, it's just great to see us, to see the bench. And I'm trying to expand my chicken coop, so maybe we got. And we'll talk about that you're free to build things for nothing. So, no, great job. Thank you so much. Keep it up, and if you need anything, like Mr. Ward said, our door is open and we will work with you people for sure. So thanks again for coming and doing this.
Mr. Mayor, last but not least.
Yeah, sure. So, Erica, Adam and Jack, you know, thank you for your work. It's fantastic. Thanks for coming tonight, present. It's, I suck at public speaking. It's one of the hardest things to do in life, to get up and stand in front of this group and try. It's my job in real life is actually I cut hair for a living, and we were having a conversation. It was a Tuesday after a meeting, and we had been talking about doing all the work at the waterfront in Cardinal and how to get it done and how to move this rural economic development grant forward. And we started talking about this. I grabbed my phone and phoned Dave and said, "You need to talk to Ange." and out of this came a fantastic partnership. And Tim, you know, when you say that there's been difficulties, this is the first time that we've ever had a conversation with the school board about partnership. We seem to spend as council's time trying to keep schools open and talk about finances more than we ever do doing supportive partnerships like this. And I so look forward to the beginning of this, but the continuation for years to come. I mean, we have so many plans for the history, not only in Cardinal, but Johnstown and Spencerville and our entire township, and having a partnership with the school board, you know, and the ability to move projects forward with, we may never get done without the help, you know. We never may know all of Mr. Crawford's story. So the thought that it's going to get told is fantastic. And it's due to the good work that, you know, that you guys are doing and the students are doing. So I
Our
look
door's
forward.
open as well, room 208, room
Yeah.
door is open.
Oh, well, get that bench ready. I'm in. Well, they have a lab there for that too, right? So. I think that's it for me. Thanks, thank you. If I don't say that.
Nope, that's
Yeah.
good. And if we, you know, I think we're always trying to say thank you for coming. We really appreciate it. I hope you can, you know, this video will be posted on YouTube and on our township site in a few days. And hopefully you can use it to show your friends we're not scary and meet up here. And that our door is always open, like we said before. And, you know, feel free to come on back again for sure. So
And if that doesn't convince you, there's always pizza.
there's always pizza, right?
Cinnamon buns. Rick, I missed you as well, but thanks to you as well for the good work that you do.
I just showed Adam a couple things with the software. He took it up in there.
Rick has been very instrumental, he's too humble, Rick is not,
That's a team.
I wouldn't be able to teach kids how to build a bench, so that's,
I didn't teach him, I'll be honest with you. Eric did the welding and the bending of the steel. That's actually an auto class, welding class. Eric's more in the welding stream. Eric's my son, buddy. So he had to bend the steel and then weld it up. And then Adam's in my construction class. So when they came to me, I said, well, you're gonna learn the software, how to set it up. So the software drives the CNC that does the carving. So you're gonna have one board, 2x6 that says Conestoga with a couple little symbols on either end, and then the next board underneath will have the date that it went into service and the date that it's up. The year that it's up. So we're just in the process of finalizing the design. Test carves tomorrow for the dates to make sure it looks right before we actually do it on properly.
I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, maybe we can all do a nice picture whenever it gets set up and, you know, a little dedication or something. I'm sure maybe Ingredion might actually want to send somebody out for that as well. There's a lot of history for them as well, right? So.
All right, so that brings us to the end of this then. Thanks again. No, you don't have to stay. You're welcome to, of course, but if you choose to leave, we won't take offense to us, but that's talking to us. You have to stay.
See you guys.
Thanks again.
Thanks.
Parents, they drive them.
Oh, don't worry about that.
I was gonna say, now that we've cleared up some of the spaces in here, for you, people who are hidden behind the TV, if you want to move around, that's fine. We might as well get everybody adjusted.
Thank
There we
you.
go.
Take a box.
Sit in the box. All right.
Probably couldn't. See,
Well, it'll be on the wall in a week or two. What's the plan? Okay. No. So moving on to number 6, actions, information, and discussion items. 6A is live land use planning, and number 1 of that is an application for a zoning amendment on 161, 170, 163 Shanley Road from Fountain and Annabelle Designs for the suburbs. There we are. We're just getting used to where everybody's sitting now. Okay, so Wendy, the CDC. Was that right?
But a draft zoning bylaw amendment for 161, 163 Shanley Road. We had a public meeting for this proposed amendment on April 22nd, and at the meeting committee requested that staff prepare a draft bylaw. Here's the comments that were received for that application. So we did receive some written comments since that public meeting from the county. They had brought up some parking concerns back when this lot was at the the severance stage. That there wasn't any, street parking available, and the parking needed to be accommodated on the lot, which the applicants weren't able to do with this proposal. You might remember they requested reduced parking, on the retained lot, the commercial lot. We worked with the applicants and asked them, which uses do you need on this property? And they gave us a list of possible uses they would want for their, development plan. And the reason we did that is to narrow down, and maybe cut out some of the uses that had high parking needs, so that the counties could be satisfied that we weren't going to have street parking there. The county's comments are here, and they were satisfied with the list of uses that the applicant have requested. Novatech had commented in their report that's in this agenda package that the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is consistent with the provincial policy statement and also with the county's official plan and our official plan. And the applicants have shared that the proposed bylaw is consistent with their application and would meet their needs for future development on these parcels. I also just want to note that the Planning Act requires us to have a decision within 90 days of receiving a complete application, not necessarily when the application is deemed complete, but when we've received a complete application. And the next council meeting is scheduled for May 27th, which would be just shy of, just longer than the 90-day approval. So staff are suggesting a special council meeting next Monday for a decision on if we would make a recommendation to council tonight.
All right, thank you very much. That's good. Okay, anybody have any comments? Mr. Martel?
Just one, to staff, the history on the part of this, property. Before, it's been sort of not been used commercially for some time, but I'm thinking maybe in my youth, was it a hardware store back then? And it certainly saw its fair share of, cars parked along in that front area, entering and exiting that way. I mean, I can't imagine that the proposed uses would require more parking than it did back then. I understand that maybe there's more traffic on Highway 2, or not Highway 2, but on Shanley Road 22, sorry. And maybe there's more traffic there today, but I just, as much as I respect that parking's an issue, I struggle to think that would be a reason to hasten this at all. So certainly going to support it as it's written. To the CDC, we have to have it in by 90 days. The implication to that is?
We're required to refund a portion of the.
And is there a cost to host a special meeting of council? Just wondering if. Okay, that's exactly the answer I was looking for. Good, thank you, satisfied.
He hit it right on the nose, the mayor. I don't think it's the parking is a big issue here. I think we can work around that to move this forward. So I'm all in favor. If we have to have a special meeting, we'll have a special meeting. But let's move it along.
I'm in favor of it. Yeah, the parking is no issue. They used to have a lumberyard there, parked in the front end. That means traffic hasn't got anywhere, so I don't think I've lived there all my life.
Traffic problems are good.
And fair enough. And I think the only thing that I was gonna add to that is I saw that we had mentioned about putting a fence in there for the back part of the property. When and if, I guess, would it be immediate, or would that be if that the 12-unit building structure is built?
I think the intent is when the building is constructed, but no matter which building is constructed, because the fence would be required. The development is also subject to site plan control. Site plan control would not apply if there were a 10-unit residential building, but it would apply if it's more than 10. So we knew that the fence was important to the neighbors there and agreed that a fence should be there. But without the ability to, not just in the site plan.
That makes sense. And I also saw that it was gonna be paved, it's a paved lot as well, they're gonna have moved to a paved lot instead of the dirt, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't have anything else then, so any other questions anybody has or comments or no?
Is there a recommendation you have?
Recommendation.
To Wendy, through the chair, will there be a fence on both sides of the property? Because on one side, there's just one house, I believe. But the other side is 2 or 3 houses right along there, front and back.
Where parking area is located less than 3 meters from a lot line abutting a residential zone and opaque fence or landscaping having a minimum height of 1.5 meters shall be provided. So it is the area that's near, Marjorie Street, where their parking area is gonna be closer to 3 meters.
Chair, I'd like to move the recommendation as it's written.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'll second it.
Seconded by the deputy mayor. All right, any other comments or questions? Okay, all in favor? All right, unanimous on that one, okay. Moving on to 6A2, further details on the proposed housekeeping amendment to the zoning bylaw 2022-37.
Through the chair, so at the April 15th meeting, committee members requested some additional information to justify the proposed housekeeping amendment to our zoning bylaw. So here in the staff report, there is a list of the proposed changes that we have kind of kept track of since we adopted the new zoning bylaw. I guess it's a section they apply to, what the changes are and what the current policy includes, and then also more detailed breakdown of, the text quote is attached to the report.
Thank you very much. All right, Councilor Smale, anything from you?
Nothing here.
Okay. Deputy Mayor,
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
okay, Mr. Mayor.
I do apologize. I meant to email the CDC today. I do have a couple of questions just for clarification. So just for an example, on page 24, where self-storage is on a line by itself, I'm assuming that that's the change that's being made, is that the hyphen and portion was on the page before.
Yeah, through the chair, so this is, see, it says, this is a list of permitted uses. I took a screenshot. This retail store accessory to a permitted NDP use other than a warehouse or self-storage facility. And then if you were reading it, you would assume self-storage is a permitted use because of just the formatting of that list. So it can be reformatted with bullet points, or that could be indented a little bit just so it doesn't look like storage facility is its own permitted use.
I think it was 4.6. Sorry, I didn't send this as well. I know you would have had the answers for me, but I can't find it now.
4.68.
Might be. Yeah, 4.6, the home base business. So it says up to 50 meters squared floor area within the accessory building, and then later on in bullet point 2, it says shall not exceed 60 meters square.
Yeah, so if you had some space within your dwelling, that could have been for an office or something like that, when created, but the accessory building.
So
What we want to correct, should I?
yeah,
Okay, what we want to correct here, is that clarify that accessory buildings can be used outside of the settlement policy area. And, the sentence that we find confusing is, except in the case of lots not designated settlement policy area in the official plan. So except in the case of lots not designated, so it's confusing. So I think the intent was to include it was to talk of the lots that are not in the southern policy area, but when we say except in the case, like, except in the case of lots not designated, we're actually completely off. of it.
It's your negatives in there anyways.
So that's what we're clarifying, is that, okay, all right, so that was the example of what we are fixing,
Yes.
not what's being. Yeah, okay, that was where my question was on. The next one is in relation to the high water mark. So, so it makes a suggestion in terms of what, of changing. So the definition that's there now is the current one, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So what exactly is the change that's being suggested?
We want to remove the reference to upper controlled elevation, because it doesn't apply to the same forest.
Which makes sense.
Okay, good. And there's an example on the next one for 3601 for RU1 to RU, but why?
If you take a look at this one, this is on the top of page 25. What's in the zoning bylaw here is on the image to the left, and then to the right, this is showing like the parcel fabric. So the yellow lines are what the assessment is. That's the parcel fabric that we get from the counties. But the dark pink lines are the PIN numbers. So that's the actual lot size of those lot boundaries. And it's so off, in fact, that 3601, which probably would have been intended to be within the settlement policy area, is completely outside the settlement policy area.
So it's not actually in the RU1.
What happened though is that it got zoned RU1 because the zoning bylaw, the zoning is done based on the lot fabric from the counties, those yellow lot lines. I'm not saying the counties made
It
these lot
should be
lines.
RU.
Yeah, and it should just be, we can't put it in the southern policy area with an official plan amendment, but we could make it rural instead of RU-1. When that -1 exception.
Makes
for the
total-
marina.
Makes total sense when you put some context to it. I have two more, Chair, if you'll allow me.
Yeah,
Page 25, the addition. Okay, and I'm just not sure exactly what the implication is. So it's to allow exemption for noise barriers where required by a site plan control agreement. So is the idea that it's not included in 3.5 presently and we want to include it in 3.5?
Correct.
So that we'll be able to have a no height restriction on a noise, something for noise attenuation. Like
If it's
that's,
required by site plan control, so if we determine that it's needed, something a fence that's higher than 600 is needed, then it would be allowed with the back. Our site plan control bylaw actually was written to say that you would have a taller fence if it's required by site plan control, so this would not change.
okay. Yeah, because I mean, a perfect example would be like the new subdivision that's close to the CN tracks that's going to require, well, it's not actually going to have a wall though, is it? It's going to be tree. So, but when it was a wall built on top of a berm, it would have been, well, that's interesting too. It would have been on top of, anyway, different discussion. Okay, so that's all that is though, is to include it in 3.5. Okay, and then the last one for me is the cloth sheds, I think. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it was section or it was page 27, section 4. So reintroduce restrictions on temporary shelters, cloth buildings as per the previous zoning bylaw.
Yeah, through the chair, this was a request from our building department, actually, there's another term for them that's not coming to mind right now, but it's
Shelter.
yeah, like a combo shelter. In our previous building bylaw, they weren't permitted in front yards. And our building department would like that, those restrictions, the same ones that were in the 2012 bylaw to come back in play. And I think there was something about a 5-year. Sorry, I don't want to guess.
Yeah,
I can confirm what the restrictions were in 2012
and that's exactly what I was thinking when I read this, was without actually having it in front of me, I struggled to understand what that bylaw or what that policy was. And that's why I wanted to email you earlier. I mentioned it to the CAO and I was so busy today and I just completely forgot to do it, because I was hopeful that we would have that piece of information and not have to delay it on this, but until you know what you're, doing or agreeing to, I don't really wanna do that one until I know exactly what the wording's gonna, well, we still have to go through the whole exhaustive process to get there, right? Yeah, okay, all right, so I think I've asked questions, you're gonna give us more info on.
Yeah, I think the purpose of this was to get us to the point where we could give you direction to then pursue it and move this along, right? That's the intent here. So,
Was this the total number? Sorry, through the chair, is this the total? These are just the examples.
This is the total number. I'm not saying that more would come up through the process, but
Yeah.
this is the.
Yeah. So looking through again, so that to make those changes in the wording and the things that are gonna be there, it at the end of the day is gonna cost us 15,000 to do, and we have it budgeted.
Yeah.
But it's still, I still struggle. You just still struggle to think that it's $15,000 to do that, but we need to fix them. There's no doubt about it. We need to fix those gaps, especially when it causes issues for sure.
thank you. That's all I got. You've checked off most of the ones I had. The only one that I had that you hadn't got to was, well, you got one then some, I guess, is on page 27, the agricultural one, allow second dwellings for farm help, not just as an ARU. With regards to that, is it, I know the ARU context we have right now is it has to be on the same septic, same well and septic and everything else. These second dwellings can have their own septic system and everything, or is it?
That's correct. So in the previous bylaw, we allowed a second dwelling for farm help, and there were not as many provisions related to that. When we introduced ARUs in our current bylaw, we thought there wasn't a need for the second farm dwellings because they could just have an ARU. But we've come across a few examples where someone would like a second dwelling for farm help, but they didn't want it so close to the house, or it wasn't reasonable to share servicing, or just felt that it would be more reasonable for those as it was before.
Okay, great. That's great. Somewhere in here, there's a recommendation, I believe, right? Yes. Did you want to see that? Okay, I can read the recommendation, sorry. A recommendation is that committee directs staff to proceed with the housekeeping amendment to zoning bylaw 2022-37. Do I have a mover?
So
Moved by the deputy mayor, seconded by Councillor Snail. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, thank you.
Just now that we've approved it, so the next. Where are we in the chronology of task 1, task 2, task 3, that sort of deal, and what's the next step?
We're looking at the staff report. We've already reviewed the requirements with Novatech, how we came up with this list, and that's how they prepared their quote. Novatech's going to prepare revisions and a draft, and then the bylaw for public and agency consultation. So we'll circulate that to the county's conservation authority, all the agencies. Planning Act tells us we have to send it to, and we will, after that, we'll schedule a public.
Okay, so we're on task 4 and 5, basically then?
We're on 2.
We're on
We'll get there.
I was trying.
And just for reference, for anybody who's watching or anything, this is on page 27, 28 of 165 is the, we're looking like, what the anticipated schedule will look like for this, to be completed. So, okay, that's good. Okay, so moving on to, 6A3, draft comments on the proposed provincial planning statement. And I guess that's again with you, Linda, and yes, easy.
So also at the committee meeting on April 15th, members have requested that staff prepare comments on the draft provincial planning statement. We'd like the comments to recognize the proposed changes to partial servicing policies, which we had requested in 2023. And committee had also requested that comments include other items that would be relevant to council's goals for Edwardsburg Cardinal. We reviewed the proposed changes to the PPS to consider committee and council's interest for the township. Taking a look specifically at rural development, it's important to the committee and council. Found some interesting wording changes in the PPS. I'll walk you through them, and it turns out to not be much of a change after all from what is in the current PPS, but still thought it was worth bringing to committee's attention because it's so relevant to what committee and council are trying to do in Edwardsburg Cardinal right now. So wanted to share comments from the ministry on that. So anyways, what the current PPS says right now under permitted uses in rural land says item C is residential development, including lot creation that is locally appropriate. And then the draft in 2023 that was proposed, item C says, this is again under rural lands, permitted uses, item C says residential development, including lot creation and multi-lot residential development where site conditions are suitable for the provision of appropriate sewage and water services. And then this draft we have right now doesn't mention multi-lot residential development in rural land. So again, permitted uses in rural lands, item C says residential development, including lot creation where site conditions are suitable for the provision of appropriate sewage and water services. So MMH was clear that the change in wording does not preclude rural subdivisions, which I know is important to committee and council. So I just copied their comments that were relevant there into the staff report. Wrap that up, I guess. I prepared a draft letter for committee's review. If you would like those comments still in the letter, we can keep them in. If you feel they're for nothing because the policy didn't really change, we can take them out. I thought it was important to highlight committee's desire to have development on our local limits and stuff. I put them in here. So the letter acknowledges the proposed changes to partial servicing policy, highlights council's commitment to housing development in our township, and the letter requests stronger language to encourage multi-lot residential development on rural lands where appropriate servicing can be provided. Suggests extending the commenting period so that more stakeholders can participate in the process. I could go on to talk about Bill 95.
Take a pause. Why don't we do that? We'll take a pause. Does anybody have any comments surrounding what we talked about so far? Mr. Mayor?
Just one quick, in the letter that we're moving forward, should you know, unlike the draft planning statement released in 2023, should we just include the, you know, the reference that you had before, like the item C from that, and the, you know, should we include that page reference and the way to identify it easier? No, I think if you have that, just include that. That's the only recommendation. It'll, you know, I think this goes under my signature. I love it. I think it looks great.
I agree. We should be as concise as we possibly can. So there's,
Yeah, but thank you.
Okay. Carry on.
Thank you through the chair. So in our meeting, we chat about this meeting, Councilor Ward, the chair, and asked if maybe I could highlight some items for Bill 185 that were relevant to the committee, just anything that you guys may want to be aware of. You can certainly read Bill 185 or the articles online about it and grab more information or do, but I've highlighted a few items that will be relevant to this committee here. Number one is they remove third-party appeals on the zoning bylaw amendment or official plan amendment, only prescribed individuals, which is usually just like the agencies would be allowed to make an appeal on a zoning amendment or official plan amendment. Pre-consultation, we are not allowed to make that mandatory. In our township, we've never actually made it mandatory. We just always encourage applicants to pre-consult with the township. It helps them come up with a more complete application and actually reduces the release later on if they do a pre-consultation first. Previously, municipalities were allowed to require full consultation before submitting an application. Sometimes it took them months to just even get a meeting to have a pre-consultation. So that actually delayed the process quite a bit. But under the threat of having to refund application fees if you don't have a decision on it in time, the pre-consultation was so important to these municipalities. Anyways, can't be mandatory. Item 3 is no refunds required for late decisions, which is something that, I mean, we haven't had to give a refund yet, but we struggle with it because we are getting what we call a complete application without having actually reviewed all of the plans or studies that come with it. We just know that, okay, we've received all the things that we asked for, so it's complete. But what if those plans and studies that we asked for don't actually have all the information that we need in them? And we have to go back and ask a question, and we don't get the answer back right away. Before long, like, we could be more than 90 days away from a decision. On fees, you could, I mean, the decision could be no, and we'd rather not do that. We'd rather be working with the applicants to come to a decision, that's positive, that's gonna work for everyone. So anyways, no, refunding fees, I think is a good change proposed by Bill 185. And then another one is, proposed to allow regulations in the Planning Act for more additional residential units. So what's actually proposed here, like under a separate, ERO, Environmental Registry Office notification, is, up to 3 ARUs within the principal building. One could be separate, so you could have 2 ARUs in the principal building and then 1 separate, or you could have 3 within the main dwelling. So that's actually under a separate ERO notice, but when I dug into it, that's what I found. And that would apply to lots within the settlement area that allow residential development and that have municipal servicing. And any other lots would be up to municipalities.
Thank you very much. All right, so on that, does anybody have anything you want to talk about in there? Any questions or comments? Nothing? Okay. The only thing I was trying to figure out, and I think, you know, I know we've done some various efforts to try and reduce the time of the application process. But, you know, when you see that, you know, if ever we needed to have a consultation and we can't ask one anymore, I think that's it's important then obviously that they're repealing those fees, because the refund of the fees, because it could, you know, to your point, without pre-consultation, we could get into a situation once in a while where we can't finish the job quickly enough, you know, so. Well, I thought that was good to have that in there anyway. So I appreciate you putting this out here for us so that we can take a look at it. So I have a recommendation that committee endorse the attached letter and request that staff share the written comments with MMAH online through the Environmental Registry Office. So, and that includes obviously the draft of this letter, so that we can sign it, right? So, that is, we're approving that letter tonight, or is that something we do later? We're approving tonight.
We share the posting was on May 12th, so we need to go before the next. So, I think the mayor decided on behalf of the community development.
Okay, good. So does anybody have any other comments? Thank you for offering the one you had there. I don't know, nothing?
No.
I'm happy to move the recommendation as it's written, Chris.
Okay, yeah, and I didn't have anything to add to that as well, so this any we need a second or that? Moved by the mayor and seconded by Councillor Smale. Okay, any other comments? All right, all in favor? Unanimous again, okay, good. Okay, that's good. Well, that takes us out of the live land use planning section. There is no work and economic development section for section B this tonight. And on C, we have play recreation. And we have number 1, which is exploring options for a splash pad in Spencerville. And this was a motion by yourself, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Did you want to talk to us about it?
We just put a motion, as you can see there. I kind of like to get the ball rolling for staff and the fair board get together and see, first of all, if there's a place for a splash pad, as this table is all agreeable of bringing a splash pad to Spencerville if we can. So the first step is to see if there's land available, and we may have to go outside of that, outside of the fair, and look for other land. And it gives us an opportunity to move in May, finding funding and so on to get ready for our budget 2025, instead of waiting until November, December. I'd like to get it up and running now if we can. So that's why I want to go ahead with that motion.
I appreciate that for sure.
That's me.
Yeah. Including the Molluski.
I'm sorry?
I said through him, I'll ask you. So the idea, that was my only concern, is that we're not going into reopening budget discussions this year. What you're doing is. just
Absolutely not.
Can join on to the
Ready for
project that's
2025.
already begun and add on.
We
to
have-
what's there.
Yeah, we have a place, we have a budget, where we have some kind of idea what it's gonna cost, et cetera, et cetera. Then we can go from there in 2025.
Yeah, 100% support that.
Exactly. And yeah, to that point,
Although
so
it's
we
not
did,
this year.
no, we had that conversation during this year's budget, if I recall. And I sort of asked if we could put some, make sure we have a discussion next year about, in the 2025 budget, money for a splash pad or something recreational, or, you know, obviously the splash pad, you know, I love as well, so we'll see what happens, but.
Okay, I guess my only other question is, do we don't, like, there's a motion that's written, but we don't need a motion necessarily to engage. We can just,
Correct staff?
can we not? Do we?
I don't. I thought we needed the motion.
Direction is preferred, so that way staff can have clear direction.
And so we're happy with, I'm just gonna look to staff then, we're happy with the wording of the motion that is there. Are we looking for more direction on that?
Would say through the chair, any additional direction that could be provided would be appreciated. Like with respect to, you know, whether it's size, location, any other details that the committee have right now with respect to that would help staff in preparing that initial conversation with the agricultural society.
So, through you again, back to the deputy mayor, I'm assuming that this is to tag on to the Optimus.
Hopefully that we have a space up there by their outdoor arena, which is already started.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're hoping in that area,
Okay.
if
And
not somewhere else that they would give us their agricultural society.
Okay. Okay, so I mean, I support the idea in general. Like, you know, the splash pad discussion, I think I've heard everybody support it. I think around the table, I don't think there's a huge amount of debate on it. I'm just, I guess in my mind, I was thinking that we were gonna try to tag on to, for a location wise, we were gonna try to tag on.
Go try to tag on to there, it's already up and running, yeah. Hopefully,
Keeping it in one area.
and we may not be able to, but that's why we have staff, have a discussion with the agricultural society.
Okay, so that's your preferred location, if not to find a secondary one?
Well, yeah, find somewhere where they, and we may, you know, maybe the agricultural society has nothing for us. I don't know. That's why I like to
Sure.
get things moving. We may have to go outside the box,
Okay.
so.
So the idea is to create one. Do you have an idea of what you're trying to create? Or is that gonna come out of those discussions as well?
Gonna come out as long as, if we get permission to, I mean, I, from what I've gathered, what I looked into so far, I looked into a little bit about what it cost. I'm gonna put another well up there, which we'll be responsible for because of the water situation, but that was my main goals up in there.
Okay.
Okay,
So yes, for me to support whatever needs to be done to define that. And I assume that we'll just see more information on potential locations and
As it comes in. Or available.
sizing and options. I guess we're just seeing if we have interest from the Ag Society or maybe even the Optimus Club to move forward.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Martel, do you have anything?
No, great plan, go plan C.
Okay,
I agree with Steve, I think it's a great idea.
Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Your prime location, your ideal location would be right by where the Optimus Club is going to be, it might be worthwhile to amend the motion to include, having some discussions with the Optimus Club as well. Since it's going to be right in that location. If that's the ideal location that you're looking at.
Well, it's one of the, you know, with that, we plan to do that all along, but I mean, I wouldn't say it's open, as long as we get some kind of place, did agriculture in this area, where the
Good.
rink is and the ball diamonds, you know, I'm fine, but I
Could
can
we,
imagine.
could we change the Spencerville Agriculture Society to, you know, include a sort of and or any other parties or something along those lines?
Or it's just
It's okay with the
agricultural
word,
society.
special agriculture, so I say we're looking for partner.
Don't you have that though, already with whereas discussion about use of lands, fund opportunities and partnerships? Like the partnerships would be the Optimus Club and it would be, they're already partnering with the agricultural.
Yeah,
Society.
but I just, you know, you might be right, I just read that, you know, because it goes on to explore
Yeah.
with the Spencerville Agriculture Society prior to any changes, but, you know, I just sort of thought we wanted to include more, but that was the ask, right? Just in case.
Is that what you want, Mr. CEO?
Partnership specifically Optimus Club? Must be.
To amend the Optimus Club, Spencerville Optimus Club?
Through the chair, I just want as much detail with respect to direction so that when we're engaging in the conversation and questions arise, that we have a better idea of what that ultimate vision is.
And I don't necessarily wanna, you know, I wanna be able to give staff, enough leeway to be able to chase the conversation wherever it leads personally, and so. Like I said, if we add, you know, and the Optimus Club as necessary, I think that still limits us to that conversation. I think I'd like to, yes, Mr. Mason, like, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I've looked at the existing area that the Optimus Club have over there right now for their
Mhm.
and if you kind of take into consideration what the town of Prescott has for a splash pad down at the Centennial Park there, there's no way a splash pad that size would fit over there beside that area. So if you're wanting to put a splash pad in my opinion, it won't fit there. You're gonna have to look at other alternative areas. I've spoken to Mike Mills with the fair board, and I will be coming to a meeting with them in the second week of June. So we have time in order to put some stuff together. But I don't feel size wise. What is it beside the I don't think. we'll be able to put it there.
East, that's what
East
I
or
look. That's going north and south east.
Cause it's.
I'm not saying any side.
Yeah, no,
Prescott, wasn't just.
No, and I was just kind of putting that as a kind of like a benchmark.
Yeah.
Depending on what you want, but I don't know that either if you go
I
east
thought
or west.
east,
Cause
north
I mean,
and south.
if you go over there and see the area that they have marked out right now before the pad, there's not really a lot of room left, between that and the existing Fairborn building that's there, right? And you can't go too far to the north because we don't own the property. We only own the property.
That's right.
It's the property owner that owns it past that point.
Well, and that'll be an option, that'll be a discussion with you guys, and that's what I said, get it moving if we don't have that option up there. Let's see if the Agricultural Society has something else. That's all,
Right,
it's always there.
so we want
You want me to amend that then, to add the Spencerville? I don't think so.
I think partnership covers everybody.
Is that
I mean, I
good?
guess if it's
How about
not.
we just say exploring a partnership for a splash pad? And that take, I mean, we know that we're talking with the Spencerville Agricultural Society right now, but it also doesn't preclude us from not talking to somebody else.
So we have the partnership there.
I think the guess, or the request is to try to narrow the scope of partners. Right,
Sorry, that was the, okay, I misunderstood.
I think that's the idea, so the partner not quite as broad as what it is. Am I interpreting that request correctly? If we leave it as partnerships, it leaves it a little too broad.
It does, the more specific, the better.
Okay. All right, so we're okay, leave it as it is then, is that what we're here, should we want to add?
I think staff's requesting that you narrow it. I'm fine with the way that it is.
I am too.
All right, recommendation on how we narrow it?
through the chair, we've kind of provided options at this stage, whether or not, council committee at this stage wants to narrow it down beyond just the phrase of partnerships. It's up to the direction of what partnerships you may or may not, or just leave it as is, maybe at this stage, and is reviewed by council.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. Okay, all right, do I have a mover? You moved it, yes, obviously, seconded by Councillor Smale, and any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? All unanimous, okay, good. All right, so moving on to 6D, information about the canal stone stability update. Okay.
Chair, I thought it was good timing with the Upper Canada School Board partnership to at least provide the committee with an update with respect to that report. So Color has provided a preliminary report for Sailor Nation Conservation and Township staff review. We did, staff did meet with the Safe Nation to review the report on Friday. I think overall, probably somewhat what we expected. If you start looking at the comparison photos dating back from 1901 to 2024, there certainly has been some movement of the stone walls. However, I think that it's important to highlight that the report sort of indicates that it's considered very gradual movement, which I think is a very positive outcome with respect to the report. As far as risk mitigation elimination, there is a full range that could be done, but realistically, I think we're probably looking at some additional signage kind of indicating that don't be climbing up and down the stone banks with respect to that, and determine mechanism where that we can sort of monitor and get a better sense of movement on a sort of a better time horizon than 2006 to 2024. So at least maybe annually to every, at the start and then every couple of years to kind of give an idea of what the movement is, if any, year over year, or if it's even more gradual than that. And then if it reaches a point that the feeling is that there's been more movement than anticipated, then it's something that we're able to assess and determine whether additional requirements are needed.
Great. Mr. Mayor.
If the CAO's done. Okay. Through the chair then. So the reason for the slope stability study was to move along with cleaning the area, repairing the area, and doing the things that we needed to do to make sure that we could move forward with the mandate that we have to clean the area up. So where does this study leave us in terms of getting that done?
So I think through the chair, certainly there would be nothing to hinder the cleanup, and I think that what that report is that it is a manageable risk to be able to clean up the area, which we anticipate that there will be more users in that area, and that it's not at a high risk to have that increased activity.
Second one. So in that report, was there anything that indicated the removal of dead or unwanted vegetation and trees would cause further instability?
So through the chair, you would certainly not want to pull the roots out of the banks, but it's more of cutting off as close to ground level or as flush as possible. And then there is a treatment where we can partner with Sailor Nation.
respect to that.
Fantastic. So after this, the signs will go up?
So we'll wait for the final report to come, and then what we will do is, produce some sample, signage that we're looking to put up. Bring that back, and then we'll get that, installed.
Do we share the CEO final report? When do you expect that final report coming?
That's good as well. All right. Give me the update, Mr. CEO. All right, going along here. Okay. And down to E, information discharge of firearms along the Cardinal waterfronts.
Chair, giving the table.
Oh, yes, that's right. Please note for the record that where it is your table. For a I don't know, disclosure. Okay, and who has this? Is this you, Mr. or is this? Oh, that's Rebecca. The clerk. All right.
Thank you, through the chair. Just a brief summary, back in February, council received a delegation in regards to concerns of the discharge of firearms and putting on the water. At that point in time, we did recognize that it is a difficult, delicate situation due to what did transpire back in end of December, I believe. Somewhere around there. And they directed staff to gather as much information as possible from enforcement agencies and gather some statistics in regards to. So at that point in time, staff have sought information and feedback from agencies such as FNC, OPP, RCMP, MNRFF, OPG, and the Critical Review Club. All but RCMP did respond, indicating out of, depending on what agency, they went back 5 to 10 year periods for their databases. None of them to receive any other complaints or concern 10-year time frame except for this single incident. The MNR and OTP did indicate that it was one day outside of the general hunting season. OPP don't enforce that, but they did indicate that for the most part it was safe gun discharge practices. They can't go into a lot of detail because of confidentiality, and it's their case, they don't discuss with investigations. If hunters are operating outside of permitted periods, that the residents or anyone that has indicated this concern to report it directly to them, and they would discuss it with their enforcement. Outside of that, the OTP doesn't enforce that side of it, so it is directly with MNR. OPG as well made comments. They mostly work with us right now for permit control. For terms of the location wise, it is very tricky because it isn't directly a line anywhere along the waterfront. It's zigzag, there's no definitive lines. So they try to steer clear of that for the most part. If there is mounting concerns, they maybe will work with us for some signage, if anything else. They don't openly express support additional hunting, but again, it's 1 foot here, 2 foot here, it's not definitive. So it becomes a little bit tricky for them to enforce themselves. It is a one-off situation as well. MNR has noted multiple different education tools that hunters receive for hunting bylaws regulations. MNRF produces annual hunting guides, safety, wildlife management guides, techniques, as well as all people that have received their gun control and their licensing for operating firearms to receive different training mechanisms through different ministries and government agencies. So at this point in time, it's hard for us to gather additional information to justify looking it further at this point in time for our end of things for enforcement, because it is a difficult one to enforce with northern municipalities in our area doing that.
Very much. Deputy Mayor?
Great report, Rebecca, for doing this and stuff. We had one incident that was last year in December, the OPP 5 to 10 years, never had any incidents. We just had, kids from our high school thinking about heritage and working along with us and they're probably hunters and fishermen themselves, they're gonna be. I just don't see any, I agree with our clerk. I don't see any reason to go any further with this. If there's an issue, hunting at a season too close to property. Numbers of phone Ministry of Natural Resources or the OPP. So I'm 100% put this to bed.
I agree with Steve 100%. I read everything that the clerk sent me, and it's there's nothing in Ontario stating that it's illegal. So, like they said too, if there's a problem, you have to phone the OPP. If you can't handle the OPP, don't handle it, you phone them out. We have no jurisdiction over the water, so.
I just agree with what's being said, it's an unfortunate incident.
Only one.
If there was options out for something that we could do, but there doesn't seem to be an enforceable option there. So, I don't see what we can do other than, possibly put a few signs up.
Thank you. And all I had, I think we got the answer, but just wanted to clarify. So, I'd written down a question: what should residents be doing going forward? And other than calling OPP, if they see something being hunted out of season, or if it's something that looks like dangerous behavior, there's no other mechanism, or is it just OPP call?
Through the chair, they are able to contact the Ministry of Natural Resources and
Right.
Forestry. They do have a local office in Capital that has an enforcement individual that is able to investigate if they.
It's
Recommendation.
no, this is just information for us, I believe. Yeah, yes, Mr. Snell.
Through the chair to the CAO, if an incident like this occurs again, who do the people call to remove that animal that's wounded or whatever, so they don't have to put up with it? So their children don't have to see it. Because there's somebody that comes and take them away.
Through the chair, it may be MNR. I didn't go into that deep of a dive with them. It really depends on the circumstance. If the hunter's still there, they may look to actually retrieve it depending on the situation. They can't control where bird flies and lands, unfortunately. MNR may address it, especially if it is out of the season. They may do it so that way they would actually allow the hunter to retrieve it.
Just I feel that there's people, and that's one of the main reasons they're here, is because somebody shot something at their property, caused an awful scene, so who do they turn to? So I'm wondering, like, do we have a bylaw officer that can go get it, or?
The chair, it's
I mean-
called potentially. He is on limited hours, so depending on availability. As well as, like I mentioned, the hunter, it's the person themselves may want to retrieve it as well. Again, depending on if it's on private property and if that individual allows the individuals to actually access that land.
Okay, well, I'm a hunter, and you don't need permission to go after your wounded game or dead game. So they would be allowed to go on their property and pick it up as long as, if you wanted to go and see the person that shot it or the people involved. I was just wondering, just curious, because I feel sorry for them. I mean, there's nothing, our hands are tied, but I'm not to help them out. I don't know. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Mr. Smale. Okay, and anybody have anything else to add? All right, yeah, it's a situation, but information only, it's information only. So it's been received, obviously, and, thank you, thank you again, Ms. Cliff, for that report, appreciate it. We now have the mayor stepping back to the table. All right. Okay, so moving on to number 7, inquiries and notices of motion. Does anybody have any inquiries and notices of motion?
Remaining quiet. Through the chair, to Mr. Spencer, how's our, program, coming as far as registration?
There's a question for you next, actually. There's a question for you next.
Person, can I ask a question?
Sorry, Mr. Deputy.
Oh, that's okay.
Did you get the question, Mike? or-
Sure, through the chair to the deputy mayor, so we launched the vote launch application last Tuesday morning, and we've had 152 people registered. 60 of those are from out of town, are non-residents that have paid the $25.
60.
I was down Saturday, Sunday, comment, to the chair. Just wish we had staff down there kind of educate them. I had 12 that didn't even know anything about it. And I showed them the sign, and I think 4 registered, and I'm not 100% sure on that. I just wish we had someone down there, especially for opening day. The rest will, it's over, you know, but, I did follow up, with a bunch of all positive. No issues whatsoever from Rideau Ferry to Ottawa to Gatineau. No issues whatsoever.
We shared the bylaw officer was down there Saturday morning and stopping people as they came in, including reminding if you're registered, they were already on this open 5 a.m. and he was not down there.
Okay, I was there at
And
5:30. Okay,
He
that's
was
why.
down there about 9 a.m.
Okay,
Not 5.
no, okay, and
So, okay.
He was down there for a couple of hours and people that were coming in off of the water and he was checking their license plates. And if they were not registered at that point, he was sending them friendly reminders, explaining to them how to use the QR code and things like that.
So is that not a discussion? Is more inquiries or?
well, I guess it's a discussion. I like to get it out. Is, can they print that off? Any identification, put it on their windshield inside that they paid? Because he asked me, I said, geez, you know what?
So through the chair to the deputy mayor, so once they put their application through, they get an email back saying, thank you for registering.
Right, so that's all they have,
So,
but we don't have any.
yeah, we do.
No, but the bylaw, you go
Yeah.
back and see that.
He gets a copy of every application that's sent through.
Okay,
So once a week, he gets an Excel spreadsheet sent to him saying, here are the people that are registered, their vote number, their trailer number, and whether or not they're out of town or they are residents of this valley.
cool.
It's in a spreadsheet.
Okay, one more thing that I'm not gonna,
An inquiry? you mean?
well, just let me go. I wish we could have maybe a little, post and put on windshields, this is new to us.
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Chair,
I think we're. It's Yep.
thank you.
110
Stanley,
and 60.
Mhm.
110 from the township or 110 total?
No, there's 150 total, 60 are from out of town.
So 90 and 60.
Yep.
Wow, that's
That's
fantastic.
okay.
That's awesome.
Mr. Martel?
I have an inquiry through the chair to the CAO, and I prefer just a quick answer, not to turn into this discussion. Does the municipality have any policy on council answering residents on social media? There's a couple of times in the last month I've been tagged, on some township things, boat ramp, I think was one of them. And I never really feel comfortable, answering right there in front of the world. Do we have a policy on that?
So through the chair, there is a social media policy. Certainly, resend that to members of council.
That would be fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
Rick, anything?
No, you don't.
No, gosh, no. No.
Don't go outside the
Nope.
box.
I'm not going outside the box.
All right, Perfect, okay, thank you. Okay, so moving on to number 8, question period, and we do have people in the audience, so any questions from anybody there? And if you do, just if you could just mention your name as well first and then your question.
Sure, my name is Carol Campbell. And I live in the area in question where the shots have been fired. You have to excuse me, the horse that's in here. But it's of interest to hear, will be provided a number to call someone to come and pick up a dead bird. Who are we going to call to pick the bird shot up for our grandchildren and kids to play in their backyards? It's a safety issue in our mind, not a jurisdictional between OPG, between the township or between us as taxpayers. It's a national safety concern. And to hear the bag, like I've lived in person here 18 years now. Hunters have come and gone there numerous times. They made it only the 2 complaints in recent time, but that was like an army showed up. The banging and the smashing was going on there. And the fellow I felt very, very unfortunate for, the gentleman who was in the little white shack down there that reads the water levels or something. Well, he slapped that door open and he's got his head around the corner, and he must be concerned for his safety also, because these gentlemen are quite indiscriminate. I've been on, I've shot all kinds of things in life. These guys, things are flying in, and I bet you half what they shot, they never even got. They all went up in the river and floated away. It was just an indiscriminate, well, bird shoot or whatever you want to call it. But that's all I wish to say. It's a safety concern. Yeah, we're not anti-hunting, we're not anti-Indian. But when little people are playing in the backyard, they come screaming and crying, there's shots going at dead animals, there are birds falling and they're bleeding and still half alive and wiggling all over the place. It's a residential area. You know, we pay our tax money to live there, and we love living there. We're from all over, but we lived there for years and love the place. And to have these people come in and take over and bang and smash and crash. Again, signage was message before. A sign means appreciate anything that council would do for us.
It's not a big area to do.
No,
No, sorry, your name, sorry?
Michael Romaine, I live on. It's just a peninsula. Monitor to control. You know, you got residential all the way around. Hunters like to go there because they're lazy. You got a area full of ducks in there because of these, the hunt. And so you just bring some out, they just shoot them out and you picked up. Where's this morning? Where did you start this meeting? With the indigenous? What can we do with this? You know, if that's really what you want to,
Right.
to get to, then this is what you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean,
You just put some controls.
yeah, and I mean, you know, we offer this, we were a little bit, we're open a little bit to the conversation, of course, obviously, but, so as far as the question goes, as far as safety goes, I think that's, you know, right now, I mean, we're, you know, there's always options, obviously, but I think the main message is, you know, whatever things happen, call and make sure you document it more and more, and that should get more attention, I would believe anyway, personally.
So in the future, we will call daily. We will get the attention that you guys want. You know, in the past, we've turned a blind eye to it. But if that's what it's gonna take, we will give you what you want.
I actually voted.
Yes, okay, yes.
I think you Romaine. I have a question with respect to the report that was written, and it mentioned that there were some rural municipalities in Eastern Ontario that restricted the discharge of firearms. I know certainly the city of Ottawa also has a bylaw. And the area that they found.
That's sure, but
Can we, is there something we can do to find that out or nothing really?
Chair, off the top of my head, no, I don't know the.
Yeah.
City of Ottawa's policy on that. But even rural city of Ottawa, their policies are much different than rural St. Lawrence area with the municipalities, 7,000.
But I'm just, even the other ones that you refer to, you say there are restrictions. So I generally, the ones that we have looked at have provided a distance. And I think you will find that based on those bylaws and the distance in our particular vicinity, we are well within the distance that is noted in those bylaws. So that's what we're asking for your consideration to review that, because it is a safety issue for us.
Thank you, appreciate
Thank
it. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Okay. All right, moving on to 9, closed session. There is no closed session tonight, so then moving on to number 10 for adjournment. Thank you very much. I'll need for a non-debatable motion for adjournment. Sorry, I said that wrong. Can I get a mover for adjournment? Moved by Councillor Smale, seconded by Councillor Martel. All in favor? I lost my words. You know.
You did just fine, Chris.
I wanted
You
that.
wanna start over?
Okay.
You wanna start?
You're gonna get one. People just like you're in on it.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it is.
I'm just HP.
There's log chicken. There's nothing more well. There's a difference. They can easily, you can easily find down there.